Today I'm going to take a look at another case from Musetex. This is the K2 and I've got it in white with me today. Musetex did reach out to me and ask if I'd be interested in taking a look at this. So they did send it to me free of charge. In this video, we'll kind of tear it down. We'll go over what all the cooling specs are, give you kind of an idea of what hardware you can add to it. Now this case also does come in black, and I'll put affiliate links to all of these cases in the description below. You can go check them out if you want. But it looks to me like the white version of this case comes with non-RGB lighted fans, which seems like an odd choice for me, being that just how open it is, you would really want RGB lighted fans. The black version of the case comes with 6 RGB lighted fans. Not sure exactly why the difference is there, but nonetheless, the 3 fans that are pre-installed on this version are not RGB, and they're only 3-pin DC controlled fans. You can buy the Musetex fans off Amazon, and you can get the RGB versions of those. The Y6, I think, had 5 of them pre-installed. But anyways, I will link to the fans as well in the description below if you want to swap it out with Musetex fans. Obviously, you can put your own fans in here, which is you're probably going to have to supplement the 3 fans that are installed here depending on what your needs are. For this case, I also see a bundle on Amazon that includes the 3 pre-installed fans as I'm showing you today, but it also includes 2 RGB fans from Musetex. So I recommend just get on Amazon, take a look at what's currently out there. Now the black and the white cases are obviously the same, but one thing I want to point out to you is on the black version with the 6 RGB fans pre-installed, the 2 side fans over here are going to be reversed fans, meaning instead of taking air from the front and pushing it to the back, it's taking air from the back and pulling it to the front. So essentially they're acting as intake fans over here, even though they're still in the same orientation. This particular case with the non-RGB fans does not have that going on here. These are standard fans in all 3 positions. So the way that you get it, these are all essentially exhaust fans. So you're gonna have to supplement this with some other fan configuration. I didn't see an exact set of specifications for the 3 pre-installed DC fans, but I was able to get them up to 1100 RPMs. And at 1100 RPM, they weren't very noisy. So it's just kind of a basic starter fan to get you going. Now, as far as the looks of the case go, obviously it's this 270-degree open glass view, which that's kind of a style right now. I do particularly really like that style. The Y6 was kind of the same, just a little bit different form factor. But I'll leave it up to you whether you really like the look of this case or not. In the front glass, you do have a painted band on the bottom here. Of course, you've got the power supply basement here, which you're not going to see anything anyways, but there is a gap between this glass and that basement. But that is a painted strip on the bottom, as well as you got the logo on the front. Now looking on the top here, we've got a magnetic filter that's easily removable. That's pretty standard. I/O panel is on the top here, and it includes a power button, a reset button, USB-C port, 2 USB 3.0 ports, and you've got your headphone and microphone jack. Now overall, this is a very straightforward case, and it's very simple to get into. There's not a whole lot of fancy removable panels and things like that to mess around with in here. But to get the front glass off, you're going to simply remove these 4 thumb screws. Now these thumb screws have a rubber protective washer on it. Don't lose that. You don't want to put the bare metal of that screw right up against this glass. You will likely scratch it. But get all 4 of these removed. But I do want to point out that Musetex is asking you to lay the case down flat before removing it, because I will point out that all that holds the glass panel on are the 4 thumb screws. Now there is a rubber grommet kind of installed here, and it kind of floats on that rubber, so it kind of holds it a little bit, but there is no hinge, there's no other mechanism holding it on here. So it is easier to get it if it's laying down flat. I can certainly do it like this. If I'm going to remove it standing up, I just want to make sure I have a good grip, and you kind of have to peel it off of these rubber grommets, but you want to keep kind of a good hold on it, because once it comes off, there's nothing holding it. Now I just kind of flip it off the bottom, and then it just lifts off like that. Now when you're putting it back on, it can be equally as challenging. I'm kind of at an odd angle here shooting the video, but you kind of have to work it up over these rubber grommets here. And it just has a little bit of give, so it doesn't always fit right. Now let's go ahead and set it down here on its side. I've just got a mat here that we'll set it on. You want to protect that if you're going to do this. Down on its side, it definitely would make it easier to get on and off and be a little bit safer. Now, looking on the inside of the case, it supports mini ITX, micro ATX, and regular ATX motherboards. And I'll put those up on the screen here so you can kind of get an idea of what the visual and the aesthetic looks like for each one of them. I'm not going to do a build with each one of them, but just to give you a representation and an idea. I don't anticipate that any of these are going to cause much of a problem. There are 3 big holes in the power supply shroud here at the bottom, so you can get all your cables up and connected without a whole lot of issue. It's pretty standard down here. Anyways, you'll have to decide what size motherboard you want to put in here. I've been a big fan of the micro ATX boards lately, but anyways, I'm going to check out all 3 and we'll kind of see what looks the best in here. Back in the back, it offers up to 7 PCI slot covers for all your expansion needs. The case does offer support for vertically mounted GPUs. It's got 3 slots over here that you can get that accomplished. This whole bracket is removable back here in the back, which I'll show you in just a second by a single thumb screw. There is no hardware included with the case for vertically mounted GPUs. You will need to provide your own cable. Now the max GPU length is 420 millimeters, so check the specs on your card to make sure it'll fit. That should cover most cards out there. Now along the bottom here, it's got room for 320 millimeter fans, and I'll just kind of stick these in here to give us a representation of that. Now to mount these fans along the bottom, you will need to use the included long screws that comes with the case, and those will just go down and they're just a single tapped hole down there. There is no support here for a 140 millimeter fan. There's just no room for it. There would be no AI support down here. Obviously, you wouldn't want to put that down here. Now looking on the side over here, this is kind of a recessed little area, and there's only support for 220 millimeter fans in that area. There's no support for 140 millimeter fans, and I don't think you'd get an AIO or any radiator cooling over there at all. In the rear, you could get a 120 millimeter fan or a 140 millimeter fan if you wanted to. You could also do a 120 millimeter radiator or a 140 millimeter radiator. Now in the top, you can get up to a 360 millimeter radiator. Now this does have the slots for 140 millimeter fans, so you could also get up to a 280 millimeter radiator. But that fits pretty good. It looks like there's clearance over here for the motherboard. It's going to be a little tight in the front to the back, so it's going to fit, looks like just perfectly. But that should fit no problem. Obviously, you don't have to do a radiator up here. You could do just fans if you chose to do that. But you could get 320 millimeter fans or 340 millimeter fans, whatever you need. Of course, you can do less than that if you need to. If you choose to do air cooling and put a CPU heatsink fan in there, the maximum height of that is going to be 178 millimeters. So check your equipment and make sure it'll fit in this case before purchasing it. Now looking on the back of the case, obviously you get your single fan mount location back here. You can get access to screw and bolt it down. We've got our I/O panel. Now your motherboard will include the I/O shield here, of course. Also, as we discussed before, you get your 7 PCI slot covers back here. If you need to gain access to that, you do need to remove this vertical GPU mount, and it's a single thumb screw up here. And then it just kind of peels off here, and then you can get access to all of the screws and remove those as necessary. Now I have found that putting this back in can be a little bit tricky. Not for any other reason, just it doesn't want to seem to completely wrap around those screws. In fact, now that I've done it a few times, it kind of goes there a little bit better. So if you find that this is kind of difficult to put back on, just kind of keep working it around those screws and it will eventually go. You might have to kind of tweak it just a little bit to get it on there, but you put your thumb screw in, then you can put that back on. Of course, you got your power supply mounting location down here. There's no brackets or anything. Just going to slide it in over from the side and mount it up. In the bottom of the cases, there are some soft pads here to protect your power supply and the case from getting any scratches. The maximum power supply length is listed at 238 millimeters. Again, just check your specifications on yours and make sure that there's no issues there. But let's look around the back here. Now to get the back panel off, obviously we've got 2 of these silver thumb screws here. Now to get the back panel off, fairly simple. It's just got some clips at the front, so you just kind of want to pull it straight back, and it will kind of just pop off at that point. In fact, that's all that's holding it on are the 3 clips on the front. So just make sure you kind of have a grip on it. It'll go on you if you're not careful. Now we do get a grill back here in the back, but there is no filter material on this area. So you're going to use these fans over here on the side as intake fans. You may want to consider purchasing some filter material over here. Not sure why they don't include that. Some cases do, some cases don't. But just be aware of that there's no filter material over here for you. So we'll go ahead and set this aside for now. Now, as far as the fit and finish of this case, It looks like it's fairly well constructed. The steel that it's constructed with is a little bit thinner, than cases that are costing quite a bit more. So overall, it's a fairly light case once you get the glass off of it. Now, looking in the back, let's start with up at the top here. We've got our I/O panel cables, and going down the center column here, we get 3 Musetex branded Velcro strips. And those are easy to undo and gives you kind of a good main channel to help you with cable management. Now let's go ahead and get all of these cables out of here. But obviously we've got our USB 3.2 connector, HD audio, which is your microphone and headphone jack. You got your USB-C connector. Then you've got your power and reset switch connectors along with the LED lights on the front panel I/O. So fairly standard, fairly typical. We'll get those out of the way for now. Now the other cables that are here are for the 3 pre-installed fans. Now these fans, again, are 3-pin DC controlled fan. Each one just has the little 3-pin DC connector and then a little pigtail on there, so you can kind of just daisy chain these all together and then make a single connection back to your motherboard or your controller. Now back here in the back also, you get the access points to mount your side fans. If you need to get those out of there, adjust them, replace them, whatever you need to do. All right, then you do get a box here with all your accessories in it, and it includes an instruction manual and all of the screws that you need for power supply mounting screws, motherboard mounting screws, some zip ties, and it comes with the long screws to mount the 3 fans in the bottom here inside. So that's all that's included in the accessory kit. Now, as far as storage goes, you get a couple of different options. You get 2 drive sleds here, which are removable with a single thumb screw. Take the thumb screw out and it just pops out. And you can just mount your drive to it and place it back here. Put your thumb screw back in. Now the drive cage down here does support 2 3.5-inch hard drives down here. Mount one at the top and then one kind of internally on that. Or you could take this top drive out and put another SSD on the top of that. Now obviously within this drive cage space you could get more SSDs, but the documentation officially is saying 3 SSDs and 1 hard drive, or 2 hard drives and 2 SSDs, but you could deviate from that a little bit. Now this drive cage does come out if you're going to be using just M2 NVMe drives or something like that. You don't need this drive cage in here. It's a great thing to remove because then you can get this for additional cable management space, RGB controllers, things like that. But there's just 4 screws on the bottom here. Take those out, and then you can just lift this drive cage out. Easy to get in, easy to get out. Obviously, you probably need to take it out anyways to mount up your drives to it. Now, you also do get a power supply filter down here. It's not magnetic or anything. It's just got some little lips on there to kind of catch it in there. But you can take it off and pull it out and clean it and put it back in. But that exposes the basement area down here. Now, the final piece to get off is the front glass, and it's not removable without removing 4 screws, and they can be a little bit tricky to get into, but down here in the bottom, right on the front, are the 2 screws, and then there's 2 on the top. Let's go ahead and take those out. But once you get the 2 screws out on the top and the bottom, then the front glass will just kind of pull right off. You do want to keep a good grip on it. There is no other way that it captures itself to the case. So if you're not careful, you pull those out, you could run the risk of breaking it. Anyways, but you've just got the painted section down here at the bottom with the Musetex logo on it. And then we just got the mounting brackets for both the screws. But when you're putting it back on, you want to just be really careful because there's nothing else holding this glass on other than it just kind of sits in there. And if you're not holding it with something, either a little piece of tape or a hand or a helper or something like that to put your screws back in, it's probably going to come flying off of here, and that's going to be where you're going to end up breaking glass. Now keep in mind, I think it's very important to note, as one viewer pointed out, that once you put this in and you do your build and you've got a radiator and fans and all your cable management done and everything, you really, without removing some of those components, you really can't get this glass back off because you got to take that 360 millimeter radiator out there just to get access to these screws. Just be careful with it and be mindful that once you get the build done, this is really not going to be intended to come off in any easy fashion. But once that glass is out, it's easier to maybe do some portions of the build, get your motherboard installed, but at some point in your build process, you're going to have to put this glass back on before you start mounting some of your final components. But there's the K2 case from Musetex. Overall, it's a fairly simple case to get apart. It's got plenty of options for you to do just about anything you want to do. I'm currently working on a build in this case, and I want to come back with another video and share with you what my experiences are with this case. If you're into this 270-degree view, and this case kind of ticks all of the boxes as far as what cooling hardware you need, and the price is right and the bundle is good, again, I'll just touch on this only comes with the 3 pre-installed non-RGB fans. That might come into your calculation as to whether it's a good value for you specifically or not. But I recommend, if it's a case that you like, get on Amazon, see what bundles are out there. But I should get that video out in the next week or so, and I'll share with you what those experiences are, if that'll help you out. But I will leave the affiliate links in the description below so you can go check this out. Let me know what you think of this case. If you've built in it, share what your experiences are with it for the rest of the community. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.